Hello, and welcome to the second live of the day. Really excited to go live with Julia today. We're going into a really fun subject. We're going into emotional healing with raw foods and yoga. And she's contributed an awesome e-course to the bundle this year. She's offered up a Ashtanga yoga video course, which I'm really excited to be going into. I've already opened up and started the first day, but there's multiple. It's been a little busy, so I haven't really dived into much, but excited for that. We're going to go into that, go into this subject, and just so you know, of course, we're both a part of the bundle, and we're like, I think it's close to 40 hours left, less than 2 days left to grab this amazing deal, $1,850 worth of stuff for just $50. So I really encourage you to check it out in Julia_Sana's profile or mine. And we'll invite her in here. Ooh, I hope you enjoy it, Christiane. Busy, yeah, it's been a little bit, just a little bit, but I got a good night's sleep last night. Yoga's a good thing to implement for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Kudos, Christian, that's awesome. All right, I'm gonna bring Julia in here. Questions, feel free to post them. We may not be able to do it while we're talking, but afterwards I'll try and scroll through, so and go through some of these fun questions. Hey, Julia.
Hi, Chris.
How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Yeah. Feeling like it's near the end of the bundle though. I'm a little bit spread thin. It's been a lot of long days and not as many sleepful nights as I would like.
Yeah,
that's okay.
You've been quite busy.
It's been silly. This is my busiest week of the year for sure. I've been up to 4 a.m. every night.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been silly, but all with purpose. And if I would have pre-planned more, I probably wouldn't have been up that late. But I generally like to procrastinate and do everything in the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, it really shows. Like, you're an example of when you're living your passion and your purpose, you just get so much energy. And
Yeah, and it's impossible to deny. It's when you're living that way, you make things happen. And there's more intelligent ways, I'll admit. Probably could have done it a little smoother, but it is what it is, and I'm really happy with it, and I feel really blessed to be a part of it with you and so many other really passion-driven people that have just found so much blessings from this lifestyle. So It's awesome.
So nice. Yeah, so cool.
So I'm really excited to talk to you about this subject and also to talk about yourself and the Ashtanga course, because as I've mentioned to you, I was really excited to see that. My whole life, I mean, not my whole life, but I've been into yoga for quite a long time, and I've always wanted to dive into Ashtanga. I'd been told that my body type is right for it and stuff like that, and that it could really complement some of the skateboarding and other physical kind of endeavors I do. So I'd love to ask you first, when did you get into Ashtanga? And then second, I'm going to double it up. What motivated you to create an Ashtanga course for this bundle?
That's a great question. Yeah. So for a long time in my life, I've been really struggling with restrictive dieting and, fear of gaining weight and stuff.
Yeah.
And the reason was because I was just someone who was used to suppressing my feelings with food. And when I discovered yoga, just putting a lid on over and over again.
I feel that this tastes great. I don't feel that any. Ooh, more. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I discovered yoga, I felt like, I found a better way to be able to deal with my emotions. So that was really, really nice. And then after that, I discovered raw food. And then I just felt like I had opened up the lid even more. Like, when you first come to raw veganism, it's like you have this water bottle with gas that you've just been shaking your whole life. And then you just open it and everything comes out. It just was almost divinely guided that just a couple of weeks after I discovered the raw vegan lifestyle, I did my yoga teacher training and discovered Ashtanga yoga, and it just felt like coming home for me. Like, I just felt like I had found a style that just fits me so well, because it was so grounding for me. And it is a set sequence, so you do the same poses every single time, and it can be very boring for the mind and the ego, and it might say, you shouldn't be doing this. This is not going to solve your problems. But doing it over and over again, I really realized that it enabled me to access a much deeper flow state and really like dive in super deep. And I've had some like really, how do you say, like really nice moments while doing Ashtanga, because I just felt so much harmony with myself and my body and the universe. And it really helped me to just release trauma and emotions. So yeah, and also when I then discovered Ashtanga, I also realized, wow, like my ability to eat raw vegan is just, it's just almost effortless, because I don't have the need to like be so much in the outside with the food, but I'm just centered in myself. So it really helped me. And yeah, and then when you wrote the email that it's time for a new bundle, I was like, actually wanted to contribute something with raw food,
Yeah.
but then I just had such a deep calling, or such a strong calling to, you know, share yoga again, same as last year where I also contributed a yoga course. So I just thought, yeah, why not share this amazing style which changed my life so much? And yeah, that's basically why I decided to make another course.
I love it, you know, because it seems to me like you're talking about active meditation and getting into that flow state and just like the power of now. And, you know, that's one of the most amazing, beautiful things that we can strengthen our mind and come into the rest of the world with, you know. And Ashtanga is so often a intimidating style, right? So having like a good intro into it and in this bundle, I think is invaluable. You know, I'm really, really excited for it. And I think that, you know, just like you, I came into health through yoga and then into raw food afterwards. And because of that, like you as well, I think it's just such a blessing to be able to share with other people who are on this journey, because you're so right, you know, like raw food brings up everything and it makes it so that we don't have our security blanket or our soother that we used to have with heavy foods, you know. And yoga can really allow us and help us to find our center and to notice things floating by but not become attached to them, which, you know, really permeates across our entire life.
Yeah, I fully agree. And when I first came to the raw vegan lifestyle, yoga was kind of my safe haven where I could always come back to and feel my emotions. And I'm just so grateful that I have that, because it's just been such a big support for me on this journey. And yeah.
That's awesome. Catch Cat saying, after my body is done healing, then I'm going to start your yoga. I'm excited to be able to do yoga. And without knowing what you're healing from, it's hard to really comment. But just as a generality, you know, yoga is just such a beautiful thing. You can start with so many different styles, right? You can start no matter where you're at, because some of them are more physical, some of them are a little bit more, you know, with the breath work and other aspects. So, but again, don't really know exactly where she's at to be able to say otherwise. But I'm curious, you know, I've often thought, you know, like I got into power yoga and I've done some yin and Kundalini, of course, a couple different various styles, but I've often thought it'd be really fun to have a yoga or have some kind of a movement practice where you do go through a set, like it's basically the same thing, right? And you hit every major muscle group and hit like everything, you feel like you hit everything good. Like if you could just have one routine that really encompasses your fitness, strength, flexibility, all that stuff. And my intuition has kind of led me towards Ashtanga. Would you say that Ashtanga does a pretty darn good job of doing that?
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you say that, because yeah, I totally agree. It depends on how far you come in in the series. So
Mm-hmm.
usually you start with sunset salutations,
Yeah.
and in sunset salutation, I honestly have to say it doesn't hit everything. It's really great to synchronize breath and movement, and also to do some back bending and some forward folding. But then it's also really important to do some twists.
Yeah.
You know, that's also a very important component. And then also to do some side bending, that's also very important. And that's definitely included in the standing. Like even if you just do the standing poses of the Ashtanga series, you already hit all of that. And you obviously, like, we're stretching your back, your arms, your legs. So you really hit a lot. But then on top of that, there is also some seated poses, which we're not going to get too much in the course. But then, you know, if people want to continue, they can see the series on the PDF, and then they can continue with the different poses. So it's definitely possible to continue and then to hit even more parts. Like then there's also like inverse asanas. That's also important to bring the blood flow from the feet down. But yeah, so I would say like when you do the full series, you're definitely hitting like everything. But even if you just do the science dissertations and the standing poses, like I remember after the yoga class, I would just lie there in shavasana and I feel like, wow, okay, I really just took care of everything on my physical level. So that was always really nice.
It's so awesome. It's so awesome. I don't remember if I brought this up with you last time. If I did, give me a little winker. But did I ever bring up to you or ask you about David Swenson and his Ashtanga practice?
No, you didn't actually.
No? Do you know him, that yoga teacher, David Swenson?
I might have seen him, but it doesn't ring a bell right now.
It's funny. The reason I brought him up was because, you know, we were talking about the different poses and you mentioned some of the handstands and stuff like that. And he's, at least from my understanding, I'm by no means an Ashtanga expert at all. I've actually only researched it in little bits a few times throughout the years when I was kind of pointed towards it. But I was directed towards him at one time, probably a decade ago. And I remember downloading back then off of torrent sites his primary series. Like he did the primary series, I think 1, 2, maybe 3, I can't remember. And then he had like a little video of him talking. And he talked about his asana, which he called up your asana. And every single sun salutation, he would go from like a what's it called, like an L sit all the way through and then up into a handstand and then back through. Wow. And he did it through the whole series. And I remember just watching it and like trying to go along with him for the first series, minus any of the really crazy stuff he added in. But yeah, I'm just a child, and I got a little laugh out of his the way he called it and how amazing and strong he was. It's crazy.
Oh, that's so cool. I need to check him out. Like, I think it would be pretty cool.
If you do, let me know. Yeah, I've been told he's pretty dang amazing, and he's made a lot of videos and stuff like that. But an example of someone who you can tell holds so much strength, but you may not necessarily know it, right? And like, sometimes strength is like puffy, and oftentimes though it's not. You know, he's just like solid and crazy.
Yeah, I remember like during my yoga teacher training in India, we also had an incredible Ashtanga teacher. Like I was so grateful for him. Yeah. And the stuff he was able to do, like it sometimes felt so surreal watching him, how he would float into like chaturanga and stuff. It was really, really cool. And you wouldn't be able to tell if you would just meet him on the street that he's able to do that kind of stuff, because his physique was pretty average. But yeah, it was really, really cool what kind of stuff he could do.
I'm really excited to dive more into that for sure. And with this topic, you know, I think it's a really fun topic, you know, emotional healing. How do you feel raw food and yoga are connected in terms of being more aware of your emotional self and healing through emotional trauma or hang-ups that can really cause some strain on the diet or the lifestyle and your relationship with food?
Yeah, like I would say same as with the raw food, what I've mentioned with that analogy with the water bottle. That's always how I imagine it, where there's so much pressure from all these years, and then you open that lid, like there's so much coming out. Same when you start, you know, cutting out heavy foods from your diet, and if you start cutting out distractions and actually sit down and do not do anything and distract yourself, but are actually on your mat practicing yoga or just meditating, you know, it brings up a lot, and it kind of forces you to be present and to be in the here and now with what is coming up in the present moment. And the ego and the mind, you know, usually will start resisting it in the very beginning, and that's where it's really important, I guess, to just be super gentle and super slow and to really celebrate every small success. Like even if you just had the courage to just do 10 minutes of yoga without distraction, like that's already so huge in the world full of distractions that we're living in. Or even if you just had the courage to just eat fruit for breakfast, to celebrate it. And yeah, like it's definitely been a journey for me as well. And I've had periods where it was the easiest thing ever to do an hour of yoga every day and not have any problem, and it was just flowing. And then I've had times where I just didn't feel like it at all, and when I had free time I would be on my phone and distract myself. So also be gentle with that and the ups and downs, and to just play and kind of flirt with the you know, constant ups and downs where maybe there's more emotions and you want more distraction, and then maybe sometimes it's very free. So yeah, how was it for you? Did you experience similar things?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I've found both raw food and yoga to be in waves, as you mentioned, and resistance towards that is, causes quite a bit of pain, and makes it a little bit more challenging. But enjoying that flow and utilizing the awareness that had really gained from yoga, just being a little bit more present and breathing and feeling and not resisting that feeling to the best of my ability in any given moment and year, has been invaluable. And, because I definitely, came into yoga from a place of mental anguish, and just slowing down and being in the body and breathing and becoming one with the moment, or, more at one with the moment. It definitely released a lot of pent up energy, and, I think it just, like you said, I think it just really carries over into raw food, and both of the practices bring so much up, and it's really our ability to be okay with being uncomfortable, for me, that has seen the most growth.
Yeah, to not fight the discomfort, but to let it be there and accept it and allow it to be there, and also know that there's nothing wrong with feeling uncomfortable.
Life's uncomfortable, right? It's like, kind of like you said, sometimes it's easy, but sometimes it's uncomfortable. And I mean, I don't know. I would imagine for everyone that's the case forever. It's just whether we're attached to that uncomfort or whether we just simply allow it to be and know that it's impermanent and it will flow through us more easily and with likely more to be gained from it by just letting it be.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've also found that the more I allow the discomfort to be there, the more the like curve is more like that. And
Instead of
slowly when I look, yeah, like slowly when I look back at 2 or 3 years, like the discomfort I'm experiencing right now is so much more gentle than it was 3 years ago, because I constantly went, not always, of course, I also had times where I resisted the discomfort and still have, but less and less and less and more just accepted. And yoga and raw food like kind of forced me. I mean, I deliberately decided to, choose that route, but it kind of forced me to really look within, look at what is there, and to feel everything, which led me to a place where when I look back, but I'm sure everyone can say that because that's just how life is, that discomfort just becomes less and less, yeah, if you choose that path, I guess. So,
yeah. So what would you say to somebody who is either new to yoga or new to raw food, and they hear us saying this and are like, man, BS, like how could they maybe have a first step, into this?
I think the most important thing is to know why you want to do yoga, if you want it. And if you don't want to have anything to do with it, that's completely all right. Like there's nothing wrong with it. But if you feel a calling, like if yoga, like that's how it was for me back in 2014 or 15, I think, like yoga, just, I don't know where it came from because I didn't see it anywhere online. It just was a feeling. If you have that, then kind of also flirt a little bit with it and see like, try it maybe out and see if you see some positive impact. And if you don't, maybe leave it out for a while, and when the desire comes back, start again. And just see what impact does it have on me without forcing yourself, I have to do yoga now because someone told me it's good, but really like do it from a place of love and that you want to feel good. And I can promise and guarantee you are going to feel so much better, because same as with meditation, it's scientifically proven that it has so many positive benefits, on our mental, emotional health, and our physical health, even on our productivity. But then also when you just try it, you can just feel that it just improves your life quality so much. And yoga is kind of a more gentle way for meditation, because many people, and I myself also had a really hard time at the very beginning to just sit in cross-legged seat and do anything because I had so much discomfort in my body. And that's what yoga really is great for, because you're still kind of doing something, but you're still getting into that meditative flow state where you're in touch with your breath and with the present moment, and you're allowing to feel the feelings that come up and kind of move through them and release all the negative unwanted tension that maybe doesn't serve you in a positive way anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I think last fall I went to a group yin yoga class, and that's actually the only group class I've done in a while, because most of the time I just do my own and usually shorter bits rather than an hour, hour and a half class, which that one was. And I can honestly say that day I think I felt the most grounded and balanced that I had that whole year. It was crazy, like how big of a difference even one really good class can make, and how it can permeate across days and weeks and even longer sometimes.
Nice. That's so cool. Yeah, I love yin yoga. Yin yoga is so cool because you really don't have to do anything. You can just lie there. I mean, some poses are a bit challenging, but
For sure.
it's still so gentle and so great. Like, I would say it's the most meditative style of yoga there is.
Yeah.
Like the closest to just meditating.
Yeah. And it's one of the fun ones too, where it's like sometimes looking at it, you can think, oh, that's nothing, that's easy. But sometimes those poses can cause the most mental anguish, you know, when you're just really sitting deep in something for like 5 minutes. It's like even 2 minutes for some poses can make your mind be like, you know, wanting to do anything but be there. But definitely brings patience, and that's awesome to say as well that there's a yin yoga intro to yin yoga course that's also part of the bundle. So it's really fun that we have, you know, two styles of yoga in courses in the bundle, so you can get a real taste and see that, you know, there are so many styles of yoga, and if you have tried yoga and you just feel like, oh no, yoga's not for me, it may be that another style is all you need to do, right? Is to check that out.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And also, like, be flexible, like, when your mood is maybe more like you want something more gentle, don't really feel like doing anything, then yin yoga is great. And then if you don't really feel like just sitting there and doing nothing, then maybe Ashtanga yoga or a more energizing style could be more suitable. Like, that's also how I roll with it. Like, I see what do I want and what does my body and my need right now. Is it more gentle or more like energizing? And then you can decide. And it's actually really cool that in this bundle we have two very like yin and yang style yoga for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And because each really serves, you know, can serve can serve you in different ways and in different times. You know, like there have been times for me that I was just really, really drawn to yang yoga, like just intense, you know, and I did a lot of power and stuff like that. And then after beating myself up and getting injured really bad and stuff, I was just like, you know what, I just need to like relax and lay on the mat and just sit in this pose. And then yin yoga really helped fulfill that need for me for a time. And, you know, like you mentioned too, it's just all with the flow. Sometimes you feel like this, sometimes you feel like that, and honoring that and having more tools in your tool belt is just a surefire way to be able to grow through these practices.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
So, I remember your first video in the series here is breath work. How do you feel that breath work and breath awareness plays a role in emotional well-being and a relationship with food, ourselves?
Yeah, first of all, of course, on a physical level, like if our body is provided with enough oxygen, then we are much less likely to have cravings. I'm sure we all had that where we didn't sleep enough, and you know, also when we don't sleep enough, our oxygen supply is not perfect. And then we maybe crave more heavy foods a little bit more on the heavy side, whereas if we've slept well and you know we are provided with a lot of oxygen, we've been spending lots of time in fresh air, then we are provided with oxygen, and then on a physical level you just feel better. But then of course also on an emotional level, when we breathe, it really helps us to just become aware of our inner body, feel, you know, our body, and become aware of this present moment and being here now. And that just is the key to everything. Like presence is the answer to everything, especially when it's related to emotions. We are just more able to feel them and then again move through them and release them when we you know, are connected with our breath and our inner body. So that's been a huge help for me, to just breathe. And also moments where it's really difficult and I feel stressed or maybe angry at a certain situation, and then to have that tool of breathing calmly and through the physical come back into this present moment, into stillness, and realize there isn't any problem right now. Like, not on a like vaster scale. Maybe right now there is something I need to overcome, like a challenge, but there's no real problem. And the breath always kind of helps me to remind myself of that.
It's so beautiful, right? Like what a powerful tool, you know, and because it's what is it, the autonomic nervous system? Like we immediately go into that fight or flight, and you know, when we're scared or like really stimulated and start shallow breathing and tension rises, and you know, the mindfulness, being aware and being able to see that happening can flip that switch to just, like you said, just all of a sudden choose to breathe more calmly. And it's amazing. It's been really studied and shown that the fastest way to change our state is through the breath, and it's the most reliable way to change our state.
Oh, so nice. Yeah. So cool. Have you also made similar experiences that when you started implementing yoga and breath work, that it kind of some switch turned around inside of you?
You know, truthfully, I didn't make the connection for a long time. You know, like, I mean, I was aware of the benefits of breath work during my practice, and, you know, really enjoyed. It's funny, sometimes in group classes with a little bit of ego, enjoyed, you know, really pushing it and really getting the breath in sync, and, you know, like really being like super A class, you know, like giving it 110%. You know, and then and then but it took me a while before I really made that connection and brought it into my regular life, you know, just like finding myself in tense situations and noticing that I'm holding my breath, or noticing that I'm just experiencing tightness in my body, and making the connection that, okay, well, I can come to a place of awareness that I feel that, but then I can come to a conscious choice to create a different sensation and situation in my body by instead bringing focus to the breath and slowing down. And the magical way that that melts tension, you know, the magical way that it brings attention to things that actually bring benefit rather than close you down more, you know. And so that was something, I think it was probably, I don't know, at least near a decade into yoga before I really consciously brought that over. And I mean, I think one of the beautiful things about yoga, though, is it does work conscious and unconscious on both, right? So the practice will, to some degree, bring that into your life and reality. But with the conscious application of it, you can even take it to another level.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's so beautiful. Also, that you're seeing that it took some time for you to really fully realize it and then also implement it. And yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's something I didn't really think about. I mean, I knew that yoga brought benefits into the rest of my life. I mean, I saw it, but I didn't incorporate the breath work in regular life. And it took more, I think, actually studying like non-yoga based studies on breath work, you know, like in just the power of now and breath work itself, right? Whereas before, I really just felt like breathwork, yoga together, not breathwork separate from yoga. Not that they're necessarily separate, but bringing it in outside of my mat is basically what I'm saying. You know, like I think I equated yoga more with you know, the ethics and philosophy and mat time, but not as much direct carryover into just general life, and bringing some of that practice into, you know, any area of stress and any area of distraction or yeah, I guess a resistance to what is, you know.
But I think it's so normal and natural also to having to need some time to actually implement it into everyday life. Like same with meditation. Like when you first start, you really just do it while you're in it, but you don't really carry it into your everyday life. It takes so long for you. Like you really need to practice a lot to really be able to carry that into your life. And I think it's the same with breathwork. I mean, it can go from one second to another, but usually it just takes time and practice, same as, you know, with everything in life, for you to really be able to also implement it in more challenging situations.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. you mentioning that really brought up a very strange parallel comparison to it. Maybe some people will, this will age me a bit, but the original Karate Kid movie, not the Cobra Kai that was on Netflix, but the original Karate Kid movie, when Daniel-san started learning the Mr. Miyagi's martial art, you know, he had him like painting and sanding and doing all these things. He's like, why am I doing all this stuff? Why am I doing all this stuff? And then after that motion became like second nature and he was doing it, all of a sudden when he was in a fight, you know, he like had the movements. And to me, it's almost, yoga is a training for life and bringing that quality of calm and awareness into our life. But a lot of times we don't necessarily recognize that. We recognize, okay, it's going to bring me some flexibility, or it's going to, you know, make me stronger, or maybe it'll make me a little bit more calm. But we don't necessarily always recognize that it can bring that quality into our everyday at that level, you know, at least for me.
Yeah, definitely. I also didn't think that that would happen at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so cool. I didn't see that movie, but I had the image very clear in my head, and I think it's a great analogy.
It's so fun. Because he was hating it. I mean, and that's not the analogy that I'm trying to go for, the part, but he was just like, why are you making me do this? You know, like, I want to learn to fight. And he's like, go wash my car, go paint the fence. But he shows like this very specific technique, right? And he's like, just all day doing these movements, right? And yeah, we got a snooter who wants to say hello.
Hey, snooter.
Oh, he's so happy. She's a king of yoga.
So cool.
So was there for you any point where you really found just almost like a switch went off with emotional freedom from food, or more awareness around food and numbing what that did to you and stuff like that? And if so, what do you think facilitated that switch?
I don't think there was like a switch from one moment to another. I think it was more gradual.
Yeah.
It really helped me a lot to surround myself a lot with people who have been on this lifestyle for so long, like online and also in real life through food festivals, like watching content of you and Fruity the Banana Girl really helped me a lot, because she really helped me to make that connection that it's okay to nourish my body, like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And that I can do it to the extent that I feel satiated. And when I do that, then it'll also be much easier to stay present in those moments where it's maybe emotionally tough, because I'm, you know, as she always says, carved up.
Yeah, carb the F up, right? Make sure you have those carbs. It makes everything a little bit more smooth.
Definitely, yeah. And then also, I remember we had a talk last winter. That one also really helped me to just shift my focus a little bit and become more clarity. And yeah, just watching lots of YouTube videos. And then this year, in the beginning of this year, I did it was kind of a coaching program where you have meditation every single day and journaling every day. And it really helped me to be consistent with these practices, and really because I had something that committed me, because you also get a daily email which will remind you for the video and stuff. So that also really helped me to just, I guess the spirituality, being, very consistent with yoga and meditation really helped me to become less dependent on the food, and to know that I can give myself everything that I need, also from within. Like, I don't need something from the outside, while at the same time still nourishing myself, because there had also been a time in my life where I had been very obsessed with fasting and intermittent fasting, and trying to overdo it a little bit with the cleansing. And that just doesn't go very well when you're still in the beginning of your raw vegan journey. So yeah, that's definitely also been a time.
So when you mention that, like a preoccupation with fasting and or being clean and stuff like that, where for you was that coming from? Do you feel like?
I think it was the thought of, I want everything right now. Like, I want the perfect health and the perfect body, and like being completely grounded and centered. I want everything right now, and I know that
you don't want what you're experiencing. You want something completely else.
exactly. I want something on the outside, and I want to give it to myself through like fasting, which is actually really sad when I say it, because there is no need to rush it. And you know what it's really about is to enjoy the ride. I don't know, did you have periods in your life where you were very obsessed with cleansing, or were you always very clear that it takes time and it's okay to really be slow?
Well, I mean, I've definitely had times where I was obsessed about nutrition or obsessed about food combining. Um, I guess even at sometimes obsessed about, say, like hygienic eating, and like I shouldn't eat a hot pepper or something like that. And then on the same page, I feel like I've had times with those same obsessions, at least obsession in the way of it being like a real keen focus, but not necessarily with an unhealthy vibe that the word obsession kind of brings with it, you know? Um, I've done multiple fasts, but I think really for me, most of them were just a real keen interest to see what happens, you know, like to experience some shifts, you know, and to take my health to the next level. Um, you know, but yeah, my last fast I came to because I just felt like I just really need this. Not because I was like, I need to not be who I am, but I'm like, I just really felt drained. You know, I'd really pulled myself too far. And I'm like, this is an act of self-love and replenishing and rejuvenating, you know? And so I feel really blessed with that. But I definitely have had my other obsessions, you know, like I often say with like food combining and stuff like that, for example, I got so deep into it. I swear when I'd watch other people combine different foods, like if I saw someone eat a water or like let's say a banana orange smoothie, I'd get a stomach ache just watching them because I was like, oh my God, that's just crazy. I can't believe you do that, you know?
Yeah, I can totally relate to that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And it took some time, and I mean there's still residuals, you know, like life's a little bit of a dance, and I think you know, some things take a while to completely reprogram or deprogram, you know, and sometimes I still feel little bits of residual there, but for the absolute most part, it's just an act of awareness, seeing that and being like, this isn't necessarily true. This is just what's moving through, you know?
Nice. Wow, that's so amazing that you can observe that.
Not all the time, but most of the time, you know? It's an amazing forever practice, right? Just to be able to sit and observe what's going through you and recognize that it isn't you, it's just what's flowing through. And either you're holding it back down and making it, you know, probably stinkier and worse and reflecting out, or you just let it go through and it's not necessarily what is reflecting anymore because you're not holding on to it.
Mm. Yeah, that's so nicely said. I totally agree. Yeah.
That's awesome. What hmm I just love this subject of kind of emotional eating and of, you know, emotions coming up and stuff like that. Is there anything specifically with emotional eating that you found really helpful?
Um, yeah, I think what I found really helpful is connecting with other people and just talking a lot about it with others who are maybe on a similar path, or even people who aren't necessarily vegan or raw vegan, just talking with them, observing other people. Like something that I, for example, observed for me, like in my family, it's just a really big struggle. Like when I observe, you know, some of my family members, I can just see that they have been really struggling and are still struggling with it. And then I really know where it's coming from. And then also surrounding myself with people who maybe don't struggle so much with it, and seeing kind of what they do different and applying that, and also setting kind of boundaries maybe with the people who maybe are a little bit influencing me in that way, where I'm also feeling like it's just affects me a bit, and then just setting boundaries. And yeah, I think that has really helped me. And even maybe for a little while I didn't even eat that much with my family, because I just really knew like it doesn't serve me, and it just kind of holds me stuck where I am. And I want to kind of move away from that, or not away, but just like kind of like a snail removing my skin.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's what really helped me to also surround myself and observe people who have a very healthy relationship with food, and to seek health in a way.
Is there any, you mentioned kind of parallels and stuff like that. Has anything really jumped out in your observation of people who have a good relationship with food that is like a parallel between all of them, or like a similarity between all of them?
Yeah, definitely. Something that I've observed is that people who have a very healthy relationship with food, that they are very calm around food, and when they eat it, they really enjoy the process of nourishing their body, and they don't feel any guilt or shame for actually wanting to eat. Like, because I feel like that kind of shame and guilt causes you to really like not honor so much the needs of your body. But when you're very calm around your food and kind of also make it a ceremony, and allow yourself, of course, to have it and have as much as you need, it's so much easier to really honor everything that you need. Have you also made a similar experience?
Yeah, no, for sure. And that really resonates, like the more calm presence with eating, and the lack of knee-jerk reaction of like needing to eat right now, like the hangry, I'm so angry, I got to eat right now, or the I guess reliance on food for calm mental state, because I think so many people just utilize food as a salve and as the cure-all, as the major distraction, and parallels being like, yeah, if we eat now or if we eat in 4 hours, it doesn't really make a big difference, like I'm immersed in the now. And also the letting go of a need for every single meal to be the best, or like to be super fancy or whatever. Just like, if my meal today is iceberg lettuce because that's what I had and I didn't get out of the house, or my meal is the most amazing durian, sure, there's going to be some extra smiles and maybe a couple funny noises while eating the durian, but it's not going to throw your cool or make the mind start to think, oh my gosh, I didn't have enough, I'm going to die now, or I'm like, I better go and get this like special sauce and I got to put it on there. Like, food can be super fun, but it definitely can be utilized as distraction or stimulation, or just pleasure. I mean, I don't want to sound like pleasure isn't an important aspect of eating, right? But it can be an overemphasis over top of just, hey, it's just food. We need to nourish ourselves predictably over the long term. Any one meal here or there isn't going to make a difference.
I totally agree. Yeah, that's so nicely said with the durian and the iceberg lettuce. I love that analogy. And again, if you're present, like an iceberg lettuce can just be so amazing.
So good.
And yeah, so something that I've also remembered is that something I also observed is the people who have a really healthy relationship with food, their life doesn't evolve so much around just the food, but they have kind of long-term goals in their life, and like kind of really clear vision of where they want to go, and then that's their focus. And then around that, it's important to of course nourish yourself to get there, but you don't nourish yourself, like that's not the focus where you need to get. So like the goal is kind of like more wide, I guess.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense for sure. It makes me think too. I think we talked about this a little bit last talk, perhaps. That oftentimes there is structure, and this, I think to me, this really does kind of go into yoga as well, that there is structure, but also they're not thrown off by a lack of structure. Like if a wrench gets thrown into their life and they can't have a green juice for breakfast, it isn't the end of the world. Can be adaptable and still remain calm, and it's the same to me with yoga. If the purpose of yoga is to bring more calm and balance into your life. If you miss one yoga class and your life is in shambles, well, maybe the point hasn't been brought into the rest of life.
Yeah, that's so nice. And I think we often can get very obsessed with these things. Like, I need to do this every day. I need to practice yoga every day. I need to eat just fruits and veggies every day. But I think what it's really about is to celebrate the successes. And even if you just do yoga once a month, then celebrate, wow, I did this amazing yoga class. I was just so high on life during this class. Or, you know, I had this amazing salad tonight. And to really celebrate the successes and focus on what's there and all the abundance instead of all the lack and everything you didn't do. Or, I think that's really important.
Absolutely. You know, and I'm just all of a sudden kind of feeling aware that some people could listen to what we're saying as it's a judgment of a right way and a wrong way, right? Of doing. And I just think it's like so important to recognize that, you know, a lot of times with anything we require the contrast, and we require obsession, and we require, you know, being hard on ourselves in order to know what the other side is, right? And I've definitely found in my experience, and I'd love to hear from you, that most of the things that I've come to a level where I feel more balance in, and that I don't feel thrown off if I'm not like in a rigid structure, that I almost needed obsession and rigid structure to get to a point of clarity with it where I could let it go.
Wow, that's so deep. Yeah, I feel similarly about some areas of my life. Like, for example, the food part. In the beginning, I was so structured and everything had to be exactly the way I wanted, and it obviously didn't work out because that's not how life works. And I was in that way kind of resisting the flow of life, but I needed that experience so much to be able to kind of let that go and find more flexibility. And I definitely also still have parts, like for example with the yoga, I still haven't come to a point where I'm completely flexible with when I do it or stuff. Like, I always guilt trip myself so much when I say, okay, well, today I want to do this and this and this yoga class, and then I don't do it because life gets in the way. And I still haven't really found a calm balance where I'm like, sometimes I surrender to it, but sometimes I'm like, I really wish I had done that today or something. So, yeah. How is it about?
Julia Sana is human.
Yeah, I'm not a robot.
No. Yeah, no, I'm definitely the same. You know, it's a forever practice, and it all comes with ups and downs, and remembering and forgetting, and, you know, and applying and not applying. And I think that's the beauty of community, right? And the beauty of coming together with people and reminding and remembering and you know, finding out new things and learning in different ways and slight little perspective shifts. You know, it's just so amazing to me how a little teeny shift in the perspective can completely change an entire experience, you know. And I was actually just having a really good conversation with my friend Michelle yesterday, who's really big into, oh, he just popped in. Hey, Michelle, that is so awesome.
Wow.
I just said your name. Like, I just had a really good conversation with my friend Michelle yesterday, and he was talking about his meditative practice. And he mentioned at one point when he started meditating that he would sit and he wouldn't stop meditating until he felt peace, until he came to a state of peace. I just thought that was so freaking beautiful, because I've often had a really hard time doing sitting meditation, like you mentioned, and I'm a little bit more drawn to active meditation and just flowing, whether it's skateboarding, yoga, wall climbing, walking, anything. You know, I've tried to bring it into my life. But the sitting meditation had always been a challenge. And I never looked at it that way. You know, I looked at it more like, I'm going to do 15 minutes and, you know, I'd struggle through it. And at the end, I'd be like, great, I'm done. You know, instead of, okay, I'm just going to sit as long as it takes to find a moment of peace, whether that's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, a half an hour. Just seeing that. I just thought that was a beautiful thing. And thanks, Michelle, for sharing that yesterday.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for also sharing that. I've never thought about it, but it just makes so much sense to just meditate until you feel peaceful. Yeah, because then you actually have such a big motivation to do it. Because if you just do it to do it, then your mind and your ego is going to say, so what? I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Or you're doing it just to follow the breath, which, I mean, I think all of these things can be beautiful, and obviously people gain from them, right? There's many different practices, but classic meditation that I used to do is just sitting and breathing and just be aware of the breath going through my nose. And it's very beautiful, but it is a completely different thing than just sitting, being aware and noticing when I'm in discord or when I find peace and ease. And when that flower opens, just be like, here I am. Beautiful. I'm going to get up and have my day, and bring that peace into the rest of the day. And that's just something I'm excited to explore a little bit more.
Nice. That's so cool. Yeah. Something that also really helps me is to, like right now I've started to have an MP3 player next to my bed. And then when I'm getting up right away, I put it in and I have like a meditation that is 10 minutes long and spoken. By Eckhart Tolle actually. And then because I don't want to get up right away and I'm still so relaxed, it's the perfect time for me to meditate, and I also just lie there so I don't sit. And of course, an important point for that is to actually be well, like having slept enough. If you wake up with an alarm clock, for example, then that way doesn't work because you're most likely going to fall back asleep. But if you have slept enough, then that's possible to do as well.
So what you're saying is it's going to be impossible for me right now.
Yeah, I can imagine. You must have been very sleep deprived, or you must be very sleep deprived from all the late nights.
A little, yeah, definitely a little bit. Yesterday was my toughest day because I think I only got like 3.5 hours or something like that, and I'm used to a good like 8.5, 9. I really like to honor sleep. I love sleep, and waking up when I want to wake up. And I love the saying, if you wake up and you'd rather roll over than get out of bed, then roll over. And I really like to honor that,
Yeah, totally.
Simple truth.
Yeah, like the quality of your life improves so much when you sleep as much as your body needs.
Yeah.
And
and I think that will be my next chapter after the bundle will be rolling over a few times, a few days, and really embracing that, and just a little bit more sleep and a little less computer time. I think I've gotten sunburned from the computer.
Yeah, like probably when you're exposed to so much blue light, it really affects your melatonin production. So.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, and I think this is I just think this is such an important topic, and I really hope that people got a lot from it. I don't know your schedule. I know we're near the top of the hour. I don't know if you have another live.
I don't know,
no?
But yeah.
Do you want to go through some of these questions that people have written in, and then wrap up today?
Yeah, let's do that. I don't know if anyone has questioned anything.
It might be, I've always loved Iceberg the best. Wow, both are so full of ancient wisdom and help. Well, my ego just got inflated and I feel really good about myself. Thank you. That's so awesome to learn, and it makes sense. I don't remember what that was for, but it looks, lots of blessings to you. Oh, Coconut Girl, what's up? Some hearts. She is in the bundle with her raw Hawaiian recipes. Really awesome. I don't have the patience for yoga. So that's a good one. If someone was coming to you and they were experiencing this, a lack of patience in their life, what would be your recommendation around that?
I think it's amazing that you notice that you have an impatience. Like, celebrate that. I think that's awesome, because that means that a shift inside of you has happened, because that impatience must have been there all the time, and now that you practice yoga, you notice it, and your mind and your ego again is probably going to resist it at first. I think it's doing that for all of us, and it's normal in the world we're living in, full of distractions. But yeah, I think the most important thing is just to celebrate that you're actually observing that you're impatient. Like, even if you're impatient throughout the entire yoga class, if you're able to still go through it and just observe and watch what this impatience does with you, you will notice that it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And at some point, you will let it go. And then again, like if you want to leave yoga out for a little while because you don't want to experience that impatience because it's too strong, then that's okay. But allow yourself to play with it, and maybe every once in a while come back to yoga and see if something changes throughout time, and maybe the impatience gets less intense and less intense. But I definitely also have, and I'm sure you too, Chris, you know, many times where I'm practicing yoga, where I'm impatient, I'm thinking about the thing that I'm going to do after I finished my yoga class.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so beautiful to just see we're humans, and that's just how we operate. And it's a bummer because it obviously doesn't really feel good to be impatient, but it's okay. And there's really nothing wrong with that. So
Absolutely. I love it. Absolutely. It's something I love to mention is I think it's important to recognize that yoga doesn't mean class, and class doesn't necessarily mean yoga. You know, we don't necessarily need to have the patience to sit for an hour-long class or to, you know, go to a studio. Yoga can be in this moment right now. You know, like we can be yoked with the moment and breathing into ourselves and feeling what's alive, and just to be that awareness, like you said, of being impatient. That is yoga. If you're aware of it and you're just sitting with it. And, you know, I love to observe animals. And like I said, I think Snooter, or all cats, or all dogs, most animals, they're really masters of yoga, you know, just being aware of their body and being conscious of how they feel. And when they feel like they need to do a big back bend and downward dogs and upward dogs, they do it. And they don't do a whole class. They feel their body, they're in the moment, they're present, and they breathe and they move and they yawn. And that's how yoga can be. It can be, you know, like any single moment. When you're sitting and working, you just take 3 breaths and stretch. And oftentimes I do what I call cat yoga, just when I wake up or before I go to bed or when I stand up or when I walk around. I just bring 1 or 2 or 3 movements that feel good and that connect with that awareness to my body and what I'm feeling and what my body needs. And that permeates throughout the whole day and just keeps me limber and feeling good and feeling less tight physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. And it's just because of Snooter and her predecessor cats that I gained that cat yoga insight.
nice. That's so cool. Yeah. And then you also really don't do it to do it, but just because you want to and you feel like it, and you kind of have the motivation of kind of stretching out your back a little bit so you feel more free in that area, and you really have a purpose to do it, and you just stretch it out.
It feels so damn good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just bringing a little bit more consciousness to stretching, I suppose, in a way, right? But consciousness to your whole body and your life, and just feeling those dense things, whether they're emotions or whether they're physical symptoms and locked muscles in our body, and attempting to bring more attention to them, you know, with breath and mindfulness and allowing it to be, but at the same time facilitating the movement of that energy.
Nice. Yeah, that was nicely said. And I agree.
Cool. Let's see. Before I started exercising on a regular basis, I used to get my dopamine through vegan food. I had an addiction. Well, now I'm taking us a little off base. Let's go back.
I don't see all these questions.
It's very dangerous for you to try as well, I tell you.
Oh, yeah.
At least it used to be. I remember in Bundles past, when I was a guest, if I tried to swipe, I swiped myself out of 2 lives.
The last thing I can just see is that Michelle, Michelle, who you talked about with the meditation, he joined, and since then I cannot see anything anymore.
Oh no! Oh, someone said, Christian said, raw vegans have such a calm yet energized energy. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much.
I think, you know, truthfully, I think that too, what you mentioned when we were talking before about parallels between people with a good relationship with food. And that doesn't necessarily mean just raw vegans, right? It could be anyone who has a good relationship with food. But is that kind of grounded, calm energy in general, you know, like, you know, if there's a fear of under or overeating, and, you know, you're either overdoing it or underdoing it, I mean, that's going to reverberate and cause some discord. And I've so often found when what people consider spacey, you know, and all over and like airy fairy is very often associated with pretty drastically under eating, you know, and or completely abstaining from, you know, a little bit more mineral dense alkaline forming foods like greens. You know, if just fruit, never greens, can seem like running a mile a minute and a little bit kind of in the clouds, whereas when there's a little bit more balance, I found similarities of people being a little more calm and grounded.
Interesting. What do you mean with spacey?
Spacey would be like running on fumes, kind of seeming a little bit disconnected, or yeah, just really airy and spacey, kind of almost like lack of sleep, you know.
Well, it's nice that people observe you being calm, even though you have lack of sleep. That must really say a lot about you, Chris.
I feel a little bit airy, but I feel pretty grounded right now, just connecting and talking with you. And like, I feel like I really tanked up my sleep and vitality reserves for a time before this as well. And truthfully too, kind of like you mentioned before, how nourishing community and purpose is, you know. And I feel so nourished by the community and by this purpose to connect with other people and share, and, you know, all of us grow and learn together, you know, because I just think it's so important. And what we're doing through mindfulness, you know, yoga, raw food, all of these things, raising healthy kids, conscious entrepreneurship, it reverberates out. And it's like, to me, it's the most important thing that we can do is, you know, bring this presence and example in action out into the world to let other people know this is not only a viable choice, but it comes with so many dang benefits, not only for you, but for each other and the world and the animals and everything. You know, it's just so amazing.
Oh, it's so beautiful what you share. Thank you for sharing this. Yeah. It's just incredible how much energy you can utilize when you know, have your purpose and it just moves through you. Yeah, it's very nice.
I always love our conversations. They're always fun, and I'm really excited to practice with you more and to bring your practice into my life. And I just want to thank you so much for being a part and for sharing your practice with us and with everyone. I think it's beautiful, and it's something that just, it resonates so much with me. It just felt like when you told me that, I was like, cha-ching, cha-ching, like I'm gonna do it, because sometimes the thought of going to a studio or stuff like that, it can be a little bit much, but you just brought it into my house, and with a familiar face and a soothing voice that makes me feel amazing. So it's just a blessing, and again, just want to thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris, and you're most welcome. And also thank you for, you know, opening up this wonderful space that just enlightens like so many smiles in people when they see what's up with the bundle, and also, yeah, like for giving all of us the opportunity to contribute. It's really, yeah, just so cool to be part of this project. And yeah, I just feel really, really happy that you, yeah, put this into manifestation, into form. This amazing bundle.
Honored and blessed. I mean, it takes the community, right? Without the community, it'd just be a couple of us, just, you know, which is beautiful too, but it's so awesome, all of us coming together, because
yeah,
there is just so much power in community and shared voice, and people seeing a group of people who are doing this and thriving and loving it and continually growing, you know, and growing through each other, right? I just think it's a blessing. I feel very blessed, for sure.
right. Yeah, and I feel like there's so much realness and again rawness in this bundle. Like so many people who are so honest, and like for example Sashi, she wrote this amazing book, I Put Love in My Body. I actually have it here on my Kindle, and it's so awesome. Like I already told Eva today that this book, it's just so raw. Like it's just so real
Her
and
heart's so beautiful, hey?
yeah, it's just so inspiring, and there's just so many cool people being part of this, who are just inspiring, and yeah.
Absolutely. So with that, I guess we may as well remind everyone we have like about 40 hours left, somewhere near there, of the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle this year. We only do it once a year. It's completely different every time. Everyone has created their new projects, passion in specifically for this, to launch in this. So they will be available afterwards, but you'll have to hunt them individually with everyone, and it'll be $1,850+ instead of $50 for all of them together. And it's amazing, like, you know, there's many courses and books in here that are more expensive than the bundle itself, right? So it's like, you're sure to find a lot of stuff you really enjoy, and a lot of things to bring into your life, a lot of practices to bring into your life, a lot of new flavors, textures, insights gained through this. And I just, sometimes I feel a little bit like a salesman and shameless, but I just know how valuable this is and how much of a difference it can make in people's lives. And I just hope people check it out. And either way, we're all enjoying and benefiting from talking and growing this way, and applying it ourselves. So
Definitely, yeah. It's just as much of a fun ride for the people who are contributing to the bundle and sharing. But I actually also was like I think it was in 2021 when the bundle came out. It really helped me a lot, like the lives and connecting with the people through the lives, even though I wasn't contributing anything and I bought it. And it was just nice to have these books to fall back on, like if I wanted some new inspiration. Like I think in the first 3 months or something, I only checked out 2 things from the bundle, but it was exactly the things that I needed. So yeah, you don't have to check out all the 40 things. It can be very overwhelming, especially if you have other things going on in your life, but it's just nice to have like a place of resources where you can come back to when you maybe want some new inspiration or want to find some new recipes. And some of the recipes I discovered in that bundle I still make regularly, like several times a week, because they are just so good.
I love it. That's the best, right? When we just find a couple staples that just like, they become easy to make and so enjoyable every single time you make them, you know?
Definitely, yeah. And you'll definitely find some of them in the bundle.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a plethora, over 400, and I think it's also important and fun to note, like, you don't have to be a raw vegan, you don't have to be vegan, you don't have to be a yogi, you know, to apply some of these principles and recipes, and to enjoy more fresh fruits and vegetables, more mindfulness, more ways to move your body and nourish it. These are just all tons of tools to meet you no matter where you're at. And I just think people will be blown away when they see it, and they'll feel and see the differences when they apply things. So, and then there's all the community. So it's tapping in with the community and finding the people you resonate with, like you said, and learning and growing through that. You know, it's just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, so cool. And also just seeing how many people there are out there doing this and even sharing it, it's just, I think, so awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, where can everyone find you besides here on Instagram?
Right now, I think the main place to find me is on YouTube. I also have a YouTube channel. That's where I'm most active. I'm not really that active on Instagram because I just don't really like Instagram that much. But yeah, just YouTube, Julia Sana. So just without anything, just Julia and then Sana. And I usually upload 1 video per week there about raw food and yoga. So yeah.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Well, if it's all right with you, I'll upload this to my YouTube and then include links to your Julia Sana page on YouTube in the description. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me and for your wonderful questions and for this amazing talk. It's been a big pleasure.
Oh, always a pleasure. Absolutely. Well, thank you for showing up, and again for being a part. And I hope you have an awesome, awesome day. Are you in the middle of the day, or what? No, you're close. Yeah.
I'm gonna go to bed in a couple of hours.
Nice, nice. Well, have an awesome sleep, and thank you again.
And you too, Chris. Sleep well.
Yeah. See you guys. Thanks so much for enjoying with us.
Thank you for joining, guys.
Bye-bye.